And here you have Daniel. He's put in a pit, like a tomb. He's in there with lions. The pit is sealed. Stones brought, laid over the mouth of the den. The king seals it. Verse 18, now the king went to his palace, and he spent the night fasting, and no musicians were brought before him. Also his sleep went from him. This is the king's tossing and turning. He's fasting. He can't sleep. He's so worried about Daniel. And then the king arose very early in the morning and went in haste to the den of lions. He goes to the den early in the morning to see what happened. Verse 20, and when he came to the den, he cried with a lamenting voice to Daniel. The king spoke, saying to Daniel, Daniel, servant of the living God, has your God whom you serve continually been able to deliver you from the lions? Then Daniel said to the king, O king, live forever. Wow. They put him in a pit. They roll a stone over the opening of the pit. They seal it shut. The king comes back early in the morning the next day expecting to find Daniel dead. And he's alive. Sounds like the resurrection, doesn't it? And he's in the pit with lions, right? Psalm 22, which is a messianic psalm that describes the suffering of the Messiah, Jesus Christ, on the cross. Psalm 22, verse 21 says, save me from the lion's mouth. Jesus is on the cross. Save me from the lion's mouth. And God delivered Daniel out of the mouth of the lions. He explains in verse 22, my God sent his angel and shut the lion's mouth so that they have not hurt me, because I was found innocent before God. And also, O king, I have done no wrong before you. I haven't done anything against you. So now the king was exceedingly glad for him and commanded that they should take Daniel up out of the den. They usually would have an opening on the top of the pit. And so he's lifted up out of the den, out of the pit. So Daniel was taken up out of the den, and no injury whatever was found on him, because he believed in his God. God delivered him. And the king, verse 24, gave the command. Remember, you can't change the command once it's given. It's the law of the land. And they brought those men who had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions. Them, their children, and their wives, which that was also a law of the Medo-Persians. If you broke a law, your whole family was punished, not just you. So they're thrown into the den of lions with their children, with their wives, and look what it says, and the lions overpowered them and broke all their bones in pieces before they ever came to the bottom of the den, before they even hit the ground. These lions pounced on them. Now, what does that tell us? It tells us those lions were hungry, and it tells us that those lions had an appetite for human flesh, right? But they didn't eat Daniel. I point that out to you because sometimes in liberal commentaries, liberal commentators deny the miraculous in the Bible, so they have to explain it away somehow. One of these liberal explanations you'll come across sometimes is that the lions just weren't hungry, or that the lions didn't like eating human flesh. They weren't accustomed to eating humans. Tell that to all these families that were thrown in there. I think they would disagree with you on that, liberal scholar. They didn't even hit the ground where the lions pounced on them. So this shows us that it was truly a miracle of God that Daniel was not consumed by the lions. God supernaturally protected Daniel. As he said, he sent his angel that shut the mouth of the lions and kept him from being devoured by the lions. I think it's important to note here that God did not keep Daniel out of the lion's den, but he kept him from being devoured by the lions in the lion's den. he was still cast into the lion's den. 1 Peter chapter 5, verse 8 says, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour." We have an adversary, the devil, and he's described as a roaring lion who is seeking people to devour, lives to devour. And so we're to be sober, clear-minded. We're to be vigilant. We're to be watchful, to not let our guard down, because our adversary, the devil, walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour. Now, James chapter 4, verse 7 tells us, if you resist the devil, he will flee from you. It doesn't say if you resist the devil, he may flee from you. If it's a good day, it says if you resist the devil, you stand against him, he will flee from you. It's a promise from God. And then the next verse in James chapter 4 says, and if you draw near to God, he'll draw near to you. Right? So we resist the devil. We just stand against him. And greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. We draw near to God, and God draws near to us. Isaiah chapter 26, verse 3 says that God will keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on you, because he trusts in you. Daniel was kept in perfect peace as he's in the lion's den, because his mind was stayed on God. And God protected him, and God delivered him.